Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. It is Karen here with you today. Today I'm sharing with you a project here for Scrap FX, and today I am using some fantastically new rice paper here, and this has been designed by Tracy Scott. Now this is actually a class that I took with her, and it was so much fun to do. And here is the lovely drawing that Tracy has done, and it's been turned into rice paper. So now we get to play with it. We all get to play with it and have loads of fun. So I've just glued my rice paper down in with some Stamperia mixed media gel, and I just started off into the middle of my page and smoothed out all the wrinkles and creases and bubbles and bits like that until I had her nice and smooth. And once I got her dry, I then put a layer of watercolour ground over the top. Now my watercolour ground is from Daniel Smith, and it's actually a transparent one, so it's pretty cool. The other thing you could use if you didn't have watercolour ground was some clear gesso or transparent gesso, that kind of thing. So yeah, so I have got out my Prima watercolours. So I've just picked out that I would use some blue, so I'm just got that on my paintbrush there, and I'm just smooshing the colours around. Like, I'm not really doing any particular brush strokes or anything like that. I'm just adding water to the paint to get it to flow and to move over the top. And the reason I can do that is because I have used that watercolour ground. If I hadn't used that, then my rice paper would all peel up and fall apart. So yeah. So you can do it, but yeah, you just need to seal it off properly beforehand so that you don't get little holes and things like that in it. So yeah. So now that I've done a little bit of the blue in the background, I'm going to do some on her face. So I've just picked out a peachy kind of colour here out of my palette. Looked a bit skin colory to me, so I thought I'll just use that rather than trying to mix up my own. So I'm just putting it in, and of course it will dry lighter as it dries. So I'm going to come back in and add in, it's kind of like an ochre colour just around the edges, just to create a little bit more depth and shadows around the sides of her face. So now I'm going to start on her magnificent headdress, and of course I've picked out my favourite colour, which is magenta. So I'm deciding that I actually wanted the outside part of it to be quite light and more darker towards her face. Excuse me. So that's what I'm doing there. So I've actually mixed in a couple of colours there together. You can see that on my board there, and I've just picked that up and painted that in, so you can kind of see how it's darker towards her face and lighter as it gets out towards the edges. So that's what I did there. So now I'm going to do her dress, and I've picked out another pink, and I've tried to make that a little bit brighter and a little bit different from what her headdress is, but they kind of do match in quite well. So the little quote that I have there at the bottom that's stuck on her dress, it says inhale confidence, I think, and exhale doubt. So I thought that was appropriate. So yeah, so once I get this dry, I'll be able to add in a little bit more. So now I'm just adding in some pink to her cheeks, just to rosy them up a little bit. And once I get that all dry, I mean, you can wait for it to dry naturally, but I was impatient, so I used my heat gun. I've got out some Intense pencils now. These are just a watercolour pencil, but they're actually an ink-based one, so they're actually, when they dry, they're permanent, so they're a little bit different. Yeah, but they're cool. So I'm just adding in some of the finer details in with the pencil because, yeah, you know, I'm not that crash hot with a paintbrush for fine details. So yeah, I find a pencil is easier to use. The other pencils that I've got here are watercolour pencils. They're just plain ones. These are from Nuvo. So yeah, nothing really special about them there, but they are pretty fancy. I mean, as in they work good, so yeah. So I just picked out a skin colour one there so I could add in a little bit more shadow around the edges of her face. So yeah, so I'm pretty happy actually with how she turned out, and I really like how how versatile like a black and white image on rice paper can be. Like, you can do so much with it. Like, I could have painted it just with acrylic paints underneath and then put my rice paper over the top. You've seen me do that lots of times, but this time I decided to do watercolour. So yeah, a little bit different with rice paper, but achievable if you use the right kind of product over the top to seal it, so that it will allow you to put the watercolours over the top. So the next thing that I'm doing here is I've got a little bit of golden liquid acrylic paint. I think that's what it's called. I will put down in the description what it is actually. And I've just watered it down so that I can do it like a bit of a gold wash there for her necklace and for her little her fancy bit on her head. I can't think what that's called. Anyway, you'll tell me. So, and the other thing I'm doing is just using a gold Posca pen and just adding in some other details into her headdress there. Now, coming in with the white Posca to put in some whites of her eyes, some catch lights, and of course a few little more details up into my sky. Or to me it was like a sky, so that's what I did there. And I think this is the very, very last thing I do is I've got out some Colour Blast gold bling, which I've just wet with some water, and I'm just splashing that on with a fan brush. So here's some of the close-ups, and yeah, I hope I have inspired you to try watercolours with your rice papers, especially Tracy's beautiful rice papers. And till next time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.